I need to tell you about my daughter's imaginary friend before something terrible happens. 3 months ago, my 6-year-old Emma started talking to someone who isn't there. At first, I thought it was normal. Kids have imaginary friends all the time, right? But then she told me something that made my blood run cold. Something she couldn't possibly know. Something nobody knows except me. Let me back up a bit. My name is David, and I'm a single father. My wife Sarah died 2 years ago in what the police called a tragic accident. She fell down the stairs in our old house, hit her head on the marble floor at the bottom. The investigation lasted 3 weeks. They questioned me dozens of times, looked into our marriage, our finances, everything. But in the end, they ruled it accidental death. Case closed. Except it wasn't an accident. I know what you're thinking, but hold on. I didn't kill her. I loved Sarah more than anything in this world. What happened that night, it's complicated. And it's something I've carried alone for 2 years. Something I plan to take to my grave. Till Emma's imaginary friend showed up. It started innocently enough. Emma had been quiet since her mother died. Barely spoke at preschool. Her therapist said it was normal grief for a child her age, that she needed time. So when she started talking again, even if it was to an invisible friend, I was relieved. She called him Mr. Whispers. Yeah, I know. Creepy name for an imaginary friend. But I didn't think much of it at first. Emma would sit in her room having full conversations with empty air. She'd laugh at jokes I couldn't hear, set an extra place at the table during her tea parties. Standard kid stuff. The first strange thing happened about 2 weeks after Mr. Whispers appeared. We were having breakfast, and Emma was chattering away about her dreams. Then suddenly she got quiet. She tilted her head like she was listening to something. Then she looked at me with those big brown eyes and said something that stopped my heart. Mr. Whispers says you didn't mean to hurt Mommy. I dropped my coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, hot liquid spreading across the tiles. Emma jumped at the sound. What did you say, sweetie? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mr. Whispers told me. He said you loved Mommy very much. He said the bad thing that happened wasn't your fault. My hands were shaking as I cleaned up the broken mug. How could she know? She was only 4 when Sarah died. She wasn't even home that night. She was at her grandmother's house. I knelt down in front of Emma and took her small hands in mine. Emma, honey, what else did Mr. Whispers tell you? She shrugged. Nothing. He just said you seem sad and he wanted me to know that. I convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe Emma had heard me talking in my sleep. Maybe she'd picked up on my guilt somehow. Kids are perceptive. They sense things. But then it happened again. A week later, we were driving to the grocery store. Emma was in her car seat, humming to herself. Then out of nowhere, she said, Mr. Whispers wants to know why you moved the blue vase. I nearly drove off the road. The blue vase. Nobody knew about the blue vase. Nobody. Let me explain what happened the night Sarah died. We'd been arguing, not screaming or anything violent, just one of those tense, bitter arguments that married couples have. It was about money. It was always about money back then. I'd lost my job 3 months earlier, and we were drowning in bills. Sarah was upset. She'd been drinking wine. Not drunk, but definitely not sober. She was pacing around a living room, gesturing with her hands the way she did when she was worked up. And there was this blue vase on the mantel, an expensive antique that had been in her family for generations. She was walking past it, waving her arms around, and I saw it wobble. I reached out to grab it, to steady it. But Sarah thought I was reaching for her. She jerked backward to avoid me, lost her balance at the top of the stairs. I can still hear the sounds, the gasp, the tumbling, the final awful crack. I ran down the stairs, tried to help her, but she was already gone, eyes open, staring at nothing, blood pooling around her head. And the blue vase was still there on the mantel, perfectly fine. That's what I couldn't tell anyone. That's what made it look so bad. We'd been arguing. I'd reached towards her. She'd fallen backward. It looked like I'd pushed her, even though I hadn't, even though I'd been trying to save a stupid vase. After the police left that night, after they'd photographed everything and taken their statements and finally let me back in the house, I moved that vase, packed it away in a box in the attic. I couldn't stand looking at it, this thing that had cost me everything. Nobody knew I'd moved it. The police had already documented the scene. Nobody asked about it later. Nobody cared about a vase when a woman was dead. So how did Emma know? "What do you mean, honey?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "What blue vase?" "The pretty one Mommy liked. Mr. Whispers says it's in a box now. He says you put it in the attic because it makes you sad." I pulled into a parking spot and sat there, engine running, trying to breathe normally. "Emma, has Mr. Whispers been in our attic?" She giggled. "Mr. Whispers goes everywhere, Daddy. He's not real, so he can walk through walls." Right, of course. An imaginary friend who walks through walls and knows about evidence I'd hidden. I started researching that night after Emma went to bed. Typed "imaginary friends knowing things" into Google. Found a lot of articles about childhood development, about how kids unconsciously pick up information from adults and attribute it to their invisible companions. But nothing that explained how Emma could know about the vase. Then I found something else. Articles about paranormal activity, about spirits communicating through children, about entities that attach themselves to families. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't believe in ghosts or demons or any of that. But I was desperate for an explanation. Any explanation. That's when things got worse. It was a Tuesday night. Emma was taking a bath, and I was cleaning up the kitchen. I heard her talking to Mr. Whispers through the bathroom door. Just normal kid conversation. Then the tone changed. "Really?" she said. "Are you sure?" Silence. "Okay, I'll tell him." I put down the dish I was washing and walked to the bathroom door. "Tell me what, Emma?" "Mr. Whispers says someone is looking for you, a man with gray hair. He says the man was asking questions about Mommy's accident." My chest tightened. "What man, sweetie? What's his name?" "Mr. Whispers doesn't know his name, but he says the man was at our old house today, looking through the windows." Our old house. We'd moved 6 months after Sarah died. Couldn't stand being in that place anymore. Couldn't walk past those stairs every day. The house was on the market ever since, still unsold. I told myself Emma was making it up, that this imaginary friend was just her way of processing her mother's death. But I couldn't shake the feeling, the specific details, the vase, and now this. The next morning, I called the realtor handling our old house. "Hey, David," she said cheerfully, "I was actually going to call you today. We had someone very interested in the property yesterday. Showed up without an appointment, but I happened to be there doing some staging. Older gentleman, gray hair, asked a lot of questions about the history of the house." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. "What kind of questions?" "Oh, the usual. How long it had been on the market, why you were selling. Then he asked something odd. He wanted to know if anyone had died there. I told him about your wife's accident, and he got very interested. Started asking about the details, where exactly it happened, whether the police had investigated." "Did he give you his name?" "He said it was Richard something. Didn't leave contact information, though. Said he'd think about it and get back to me." After I hung up, I just sat there staring at my phone. Emma was in the living room watching cartoons, acting like a normal 6-year-old. She hadn't just predicted that a stranger would be investigating her mother's accident. I had to know more about Mr. Whispers. That evening, I tried to talk to Emma about her imaginary friend. Asked her what he looked like. She said he didn't really have a face, just a shape like a shadow that moves around. She said he was nice, though, that he protected her. "Protected you from what?" "The bad things," she said simply. It was obvious. "What bad things, Emma?" She looked at me with those innocent eyes. "The things that scare you, Daddy. Mr. Whispers says you're scared all the time now. He says that's why he came, to help." I felt cold all over. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that gray-haired man, about the questions he'd asked. The police had closed Sarah's case, ruled it an accidental death. But what if someone didn't believe that? What if someone had reopened the investigation? I got out of bed around 2 in the morning and went to check on Emma. She was sleeping peacefully, her nightlight casting soft shadows on the walls. I stood in the doorway watching her breathe, this tiny person who meant everything to me. That's when I heard it. A whisper. Not Emma, she was clearly asleep, but I heard it. Soft, like wind through leaves, but forming words I couldn't quite make out. I stepped into the room. The whispering stopped. "Hello," I said quietly, feeling ridiculous for talking to empty air. Nothing. I was about to leave when Emma rolled over in her sleep and mumbled something. "He wants to help you, Daddy." She was still asleep. I froze in the attic, barely breathing. The footsteps moved slowly across the first floor. Heavy, deliberate, not trying to be quiet. I should have called the police, should have done a lot of things, but instead I just stood there in the dark, clutching that box, listening to someone walk through my old house. The footsteps stopped at the base of the stairs, the same stairs where Sarah had fallen. "Mr. Keller?" A man's voice, deep, calm. "I know you're here. Your car's outside." I didn't answer, didn't move. "My name is Richard Graves. I'm a private investigator. I'd like to talk to you about your wife's death." A private investigator. That gray-haired man Emma had mentioned. Mr. Whispers had been right. "The door was unlocked," he continued. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to ask you some questions." I had two choices. I could hide up here like a coward, or I could go down and face whatever this was. I chose the latter. Set the box down carefully and made my way down the attic ladder. Richard Graves was standing in the living room, hands in his pockets. He was exactly as the realtor had described. Gray hair, maybe late 50s, wearing a dark jacket. He looked tired but alert, like someone who'd seen too much but still paid attention to everything. "Mr. Keller," he said with a slight nod, "thank you for coming down." "You're trespassing." "Technically, yes, but so are you. You don't live here anymore." He had a point. "What do you want?" I asked. "I want to know what really happened the night your wife died." "The police investigated. It was an accident." "The police were lazy." He pulled out a small notebook from his pocket. "They saw a tragic domestic accident and closed the case, but there were inconsistencies, things that didn't quite add up." My heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. "What inconsistencies?" "The angle of the fall, for one. Your wife had a contusion on her right temple, but she landed on her back. The medical examiner noted it but dismissed it, said she must have hit her head on the railing on the way down." "So?" "So the railing is on the left side of the stairs. If she was falling backward from the top landing, she wouldn't have hit the right side of her head on the left railing. The physics don't work." I'd never thought about that, never questioned the medical examiner's report, but now that he said it, he was right. "What are you saying?" I asked quietly. "I'm saying someone hit your wife before she fell, or she hit her head on something else, something that isn't there anymore." The vase. He was talking about the vase without knowing it. "Who hired you? Who wants this investigated?" "Your mother-in-law, Diane Merrick. She never believed it was an accident. She thinks you killed her daughter." Sarah's mother. Of course. Diane had never liked me, thought Sarah had married beneath her. After Sarah died, she fought me for custody of Emma, said I was unfit, dangerous, but she had no proof, and the court sided with me. Now she was trying again, using a private investigator to find evidence. "I didn't kill Sarah. I loved her." "I believe you," Graves said, surprising me. "I don't think you pushed her, but I think you're hiding something. I think you know more about what happened than you told the police." He was right, but I couldn't tell him about the vase. Couldn't admit I'd tampered with potential evidence. That would make everything worse. "I have nothing to hide," I lied. Graves studied me for a long moment, then closed his notebook. "Okay, but I'm not going away, Mr. Keller. I'm going to keep digging, and eventually I'm going to find what I'm looking for." He walked to the door, then paused. "One more thing. I spoke with some of your neighbors from when you lived here. One of them mentioned seeing you come back the night of your wife's death, after the police had finished, around 2 in the morning. Said you were carrying something, a box maybe." My stomach dropped. "I don't remember that." "Okay." He opened the door. "Take care, Mr. Keller. I'll be in touch." After he left, I stood there shaking. Someone had seen me moving the vase. That evidence wouldn't just disappear. It would come out eventually, and when it did, how would I explain it? I drove home in a daze. When I got back, Emma was awake, sitting at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. "Daddy, why were you gone?" "I just had to check on something at the old house, sweetie. Go back to bed." She didn't move, just sat there looking down at me with an expression too serious for a 6-year-old. "Mr. Whispers says you talked to the gray-haired man. He says you're more scared now." "Emma, please, not tonight." "He says he can help you, Daddy. He says he knows what to do." "Emma, he says you should tell the truth." I climbed the stairs and knelt in front of my daughter. "Emma, listen to me. Mr. Whispers isn't real. He's just your imagination. He doesn't know anything." She shook her head firmly. "He's real, and he knows everything. He was there that night, Daddy. He saw what happened." The way she said it, the certainty in her voice, sent chills down my spine. "What do you mean he was there? There where?"
At the old house, when Sarah fell, he saw everything. Emma, you weren't there. You were at Grandma Diane's house. I know, but Mr. Whispers was there. He's always been there, even before I could see him. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what Emma had said, about Mr. Whispers being there the night Sarah died, about him seeing everything. It was impossible, crazy, but Emma knew things she shouldn't. The vase, the gray-haired man, details that nobody had told her. Around 4 in the morning, I got out of bed and went to Emma's room. I needed to understand this, needed to know how her imaginary friend was getting all this information. She was awake, sitting up in bed, looking at the corner of her room. "He's here right now," she whispered when she saw me. "Do you want to talk to him?" "Emma, there's nobody there." "Yes, there is. Mr. Whispers wants to help you. He says if you don't tell the truth soon, the gray-haired man will figure it out, and then things will be really bad." "The truth about what?" "About why you moved the pretty blue vase, about why you cleaned it, about what really happened." My legs felt weak. I sat down on the edge of Emma's bed. "How do you know about that?" I whispered. "Mr. Whispers told me. He says Mommy hit her head on the vase when she fell backward. He says that's what killed her, not the stairs. He says you got scared and wiped the blood off the vase and hid it. He says you thought you'd caused it by reaching toward her." Tears were streaming down my face now, because she was right. All of it was right. When I'd reached out to steady the vase, Sarah had jerked away, lost her balance. As she'd fallen backward, she'd hit her head on the mantel, right where the vase sat. I'd heard the crack, seen her crumple. By the time I got to her at the bottom of the stairs, she was gone. And there was blood on the vase, just a small smear, but enough to show what had really happened, that she'd hit her head on something before falling down the stairs, something that would make the police ask more questions, wonder if I'd hit her with it. So I cleaned it, wiped away the evidence, and later, after everyone left, I'd hidden it in the attic. "How does he know this?" I asked desperately. "How does Mr. Whispers know this?" He tilted his head, listening to something I couldn't hear. "He says he was trapped in the house, in the walls, for a very long time. He says he's been watching our family since before I was born. He says he got attached to Mommy because she was sad sometimes, and when she died, he felt lonely. So he followed us to the new house, and when I got sad about Mommy, he started talking to me." A ghost. She was describing a ghost, something that lived in our old house and attached itself to our family. I still didn't believe in ghosts, but I couldn't deny what was happening. Emma knew things she shouldn't, things that only I knew, things that only someone who'd been there could know. "What does he want?" I asked desperately. Emma smiled. "He wants you to be free. He says you carry too much guilt. He says the gray-haired man is getting close to the truth, but the truth he finds won't be the right truth. He'll think you hit Mommy with the vase, but you didn't. It was an accident. Nobody will believe that. I tampered with evidence. I hid the vase. Mr. Whispers says there's a way. He says you need to trust him." Over the next few days, things escalated fast. Richard Graves started showing up places, outside Emma's school, near my work, always watching, always taking notes. He was building a case against me. I could feel it. Then Diane, my mother-in-law, called. "David, we need to talk about Emma." "What about her?" "Mr. Graves told me about this imaginary friend of hers, this Mr. Whispers. He says Emma told him some disturbing things." My blood ran cold. "What things?" "That you and Sarah were fighting the night she died, that you reached toward her, that she fell." "David, is that true? Were you fighting?" "We had a disagreement, that's all. It wasn't—" "I'm filing for custody again. Mr. Graves has enough evidence to prove you're hiding something, and if you're hiding something about Sarah's death, you're not fit to raise Emma." She hung up before I could respond. I was losing everything. The investigation was closing in. Diane was going to take Emma, and I couldn't prove my innocence without admitting I'd tampered with potential evidence, which would make everything worse. That night, Emma came to me with a message from Mr. Whispers. He says there's a way to fix everything. He says you need to bring the vase back to the old house, put it back on the mantel where it was. He says you need to call the gray-haired man and tell him you remember.
Richard Graves left that night with his evidence and his recording of whispers from an empty house. He looked shaken, kept glancing over his shoulder as he walked to his car. I didn't blame him. I felt shaken too, even though I'd been expecting something like this to happen. Mr. Whispers had promised to help, and apparently this was his way. I drove home wondering what would happen next, whether Graves would dismiss the Whispers as a hoax or whether they'd actually convinced him of my innocence, whether Emma's imaginary friend had saved me or damned me. Emma was asleep when I got back. The babysitter said she'd been fine all evening, played with her dolls, ate her dinner, went to bed without any fuss. It was a normal night. She hadn't just helped orchestrate a paranormal intervention in a death investigation. I paid the sitter and checked on Emma. She was curled up with her stuffed rabbit, breathing softly, peaceful. I stood there watching her and felt a wave of overwhelming love mixed with fear. What was I putting her through? What kind of father lets his daughter get involved in something like this? But she wasn't really involved, was she? She was just the messenger, the conduit. Mr. Whispers was doing the heavy lifting. I went to bed but couldn't sleep, kept replaying that moment in the old house, those whispers floating through the empty rooms, the look on Graves' face, the way his hands had trembled when he packed up his equipment. Around 3 a.m, I heard Emma's door open, small footsteps in the hallway. Then she was standing in my doorway, silhouetted by the nightlight from the hall. "Daddy, are you awake?" "Yes, sweetie. Can't sleep?" She padded over and climbed into bed next to me, something she hadn't done in months. She curled against my side, warm and small. "Mr. Whispers says it went well tonight. He says the gray-haired Rand believes now." "I hope so." "He says you don't have to be scared anymore. He says the truth is out now." "Part of the truth," I said quietly. "I still moved evidence. I still lied to the police." "But you didn't hurt Mommy. That's the important part. Mr. Whispers says people will understand. They'll see you were just scared and sad." I hugged her close. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise. Mr. Whispers is wise. He's been around for a really long time. He knows lots of things." "Emma, can I ask you something about Mr. Whispers?" "Okay." "Why does he care? Why is he helping us?" She was quiet for a moment. Then, "He says he made a mistake a long time ago. He says he hurt someone he loved, and then he got stuck. He says helping us helps him too. He says maybe when you're free, he'll be free too." "Stuck? Stuck where?" "In the house, and then in our family. He says he's been tied to sad people for a very long time. He says it's his punishment." A ghost with regrets, a spirit trying to make amends. It sounded like something from a movie, but I'd heard those whispers, heard them tell a story only I should have known. "Are you scared of him?" I asked Emma. "No, he's nice to me. He tells me stories. He helps me remember Mommy. He says Mommy loved me very much." "She does." "Mr. Whispers says Mommy is okay now. He says she wants us to be okay too." We fell asleep like that, Emma tucked against my side, and for the first time in months I didn't have nightmares about Sarah falling, about that terrible sound of her head hitting marble, about the blood and the questions and the guilt. I woke up to my phone ringing. The sun was up. Emma was still asleep next to me. I grabbed the phone and saw it was Graves. "Mr. Keller, we need to talk." "Okay." "I've been up all night analyzing that recording. I've played it for 3 different audio experts. They all say the same thing. There's no evidence of tampering, no hidden speakers, no way you could have faked it. Those whispers were real." "I know." "How is that possible? Who was in that house with us?" "I told you, my daughter's imaginary friend." "That's insane." "I know, but it's true." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I sent the blood samples from the mantle to a lab, rush processing. Results should be back by tomorrow. If that blood matches your wife's DNA, and if the pattern is consistent with a head injury at that location, it corroborates your story." "And the whispers?" "I don't know what to do with the whispers, but they told a consistent narrative, one that matches the physical evidence, one that explains the inconsistencies in the original investigation." "So you believe me?" Another pause. "I believe something happened in that house, something I can't explain, and I believe you didn't push your wife down those stairs. Whether I believe in ghosts helping murder investigations is another question entirely. It wasn't murder. No, I don't think it was. I think it was a tragic accident that you handled badly because you were terrified and grieving. I'm recommending to Mrs. Merrick that she drop your custody case, and I'm writing a report that contradicts the original police investigation.
I can't guarantee what will happen, but I think you're going to be okay, Mr. Keller." After we hung up, I just sat there holding my phone. Emma stirred next to me and opened her eyes. "Mr. Whispers says it's going to be okay now. He says the gray-haired man is going to help us." "I think you're right." She smiled and snuggled back against me. "See, Mr. Whispers always knows." The blood results came back the next day. Positive match for Sarah's DNA. Pattern consistent with blunt force trauma from striking the edge of the mantel. The medical examiner reviewed the case and amended his original report. Sarah died from head trauma sustained from hitting the mantel, not from the fall down the stairs. The fall was secondary, probably occurred because she was already unconscious from the initial head injury. It changed everything. The police reopened and then immediately reclosed the case, confirmed it as accidental death, noted that I had moved potential evidence, but determined it was due to shock and grief rather than criminal intent, issued an official statement clearing me of any wrongdoing. Diane dropped the custody case. She called me, crying, apologizing, said she'd been so consumed by grief and anger that she'd needed someone to blame, but now she understood. It was just a tragic accident, nobody's fault. I forgave her. What else could I do? She'd lost her daughter. I'd lost my wife. We were both just trying to survive the same tragedy. Life started to return to normal, or at least as normal as it could be after everything that had happened. Emma went to school. I went to work. We had dinner together, watched TV, read bedtime stories. But Mr. Whispers was still there. Emma still talked to him every day, still set an extra place at her tea parties, still laughed at jokes I couldn't hear. And sometimes, late at night, I'd hear those whispers too, soft and low, like wind through the house. I never understood the words, but I felt their meaning. Comfort, protection, presence. A few weeks after everything was resolved, I was tucking Emma into bed when she said something that stopped me cold. "Mr. Whispers says he's going to leave soon." "Leave? Where is he going?" "He says his work here is done. He says we're safe now. He says it's time for him to move on." "Do you want him to leave?" She thought about it. "I'll miss him, but he says I don't need him anymore. He says I'm strong enough on my own now." "You are strong, Emma. You are the strongest person I know." "Mr. Whispers says you're strong too, Daddy. He says you made a mistake, but it doesn't make you a bad person. He says Mommy would forgive you." "I hope so." "She does. Mr. Whispers told me. He says Mommy knows it was an accident. She says she forgives you for being scared. She says she loves you and loves me and wants us to be happy." "Did Mr. Whispers really say that?" Emma nodded seriously. "He can talk to people who are gone. That's part of being a ghost." "Is that what he is? A ghost?" "He says he used to be a person, a long time ago. He says he did something bad and it trapped him, but helped him too. Now he can move on." "To where?" "He says there's a place for people who are sorry for what they did, a place where they can rest. He says he's ready to go there now." A ghost with regrets, a spirit trying to make amends. It sounded like something from a movie, but I'd heard those whispers, heard them tell a story only I should have known. "Are you scared of him?" I asked Emma. "No, he's nice to me. He tells me stories. He helps me remember Mommy. He says Mommy loved me very much." "She does. Mr. Whispers says Mommy is okay now. He says she wants us to be okay too." We fell asleep like that, Emma tucked against my side, and for the first time in months I didn't have nightmares about Sarah falling, about that terrible sound of her head hitting marble, about the blood and the questions and the guilt. I woke up to my phone ringing. The sun was up. Emma was still asleep next to me. I grabbed the phone and saw it was Graves. "Mr. Keller, we need to talk." "Okay." "I've been up all night analyzing that recording. I've played it for 3 different audio experts. They all say the same thing. There's no evidence of tampering, no hidden speakers, no way you could have faked it. Those whispers were real." "I know. How is that possible? Who was in that house with us?" "I told you, my daughter's imaginary friend." "That's insane." "I know, but it's true." He was quiet for a long moment. Then I sent the...
Life has a way of moving forward, even when you think you'll be stuck forever. That's something I learned in the years after Sarah died. After Mr. Whispers helped us find the truth. After the investigation finally ended and I was cleared of any wrongdoing. Emma is 13 now, a teenager. She rolls her eyes at my jokes and spends hours on her phone texting friends. She's into volleyball and drama club. She wants to dye her hair purple. She's normal. Beautifully, wonderfully normal. She doesn't talk about Mr. Whispers anymore. I don't think she even remembers him clearly. Sometimes I'll test it, drop a reference to her imaginary friend from when she was little. She'll shrug and say she barely remembers having one. It's become just another faded childhood memory, like her favorite stuffed animal or the songs I used to sing at bedtime. But I remember every detail, every whisper, every impossible thing that little girl knew. I remarried last year. Her name's Angela. She's a kindergarten teacher with a laugh that fills a room. She knows about Sarah, knows about the accident and the investigation and everything that happened. I told her on our third date because I didn't want there to be secrets between us. She'd held my hand across the table and said she understood that tragedy doesn't define a person, that moving forward isn't the same as forgetting. Emma loves her, calls her Angela, not Mom, but that's okay. Angela never tried to replace Sarah. She just carved out her own space in our lives, made us into a different kind of family. Not better or worse than before, just different. We still live in the same house we moved to after Sarah died. Emma's room is full of volleyball trophies and posters of bands I've never heard of. My room is shared with Angela now. Her clothes in the closet, her books on the nightstand, evidence of a life rebuilt. But sometimes, in quiet moments, I think about those few months when an imaginary friend knew things he shouldn't, when whispers in the dark told the truth about a terrible night. I think about what Emma said, that Mr. Whispers was trapped because of something he'd done, that helped him too, that he found peace when we found truth. I wonder who he was when he was alive, what mistake he made that bound him to that house, whether he really moved on or whether part of him is still there, watching over troubled families, looking for ways to make amends. I went back to the old house once, about a year ago, just drove by. The young couple who bought it had painted it a cheerful yellow, added a swing set in the backyard, fixed up the landscaping. It looked happy, lived in, loved. I sat in my car across the street for a while, just looking at it, remembering, not the bad parts, not the night Sarah died, but the good parts, the years we lived there together, birthday parties and Christmas mornings and lazy Sunday afternoons. And I could have sworn, just for a moment, I saw a shadow in one of the upstairs windows, a shape that might have been a person but wasn't quite, watching me, acknowledging me. Then it was gone. I drove home and hugged Emma extra tight that night, told her I loved her. She complained that I was being weird and went back to her homework, but she was smiling. Angela asked if I was okay. I said yes, and I meant it. That's the thing about healing. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not linear. There are good days and bad days, days when the guilt tries to come back, when I remember the sound of Sarah hitting the floor, when I wonder if I could have done something different. But those days are fewer now, farther between, and when they come, I have tools to deal with them. I have people who love me. I have a daughter who's thriving. I have a second chance at happiness. And I have the memory of whispers in the dark, telling the truth when I was too scared to, saving me when I thought I was beyond saving. Mr. Whispers taught me something important, that secrets are heavier than truth, that hiding from what happened it doesn't make it go away, that sometimes the scariest thing is also the thing that sets you free. I told this whole story to Angela once, late at night, lying in bed, when she asked about Emma's imaginary friend phase. I told her everything, about the vase, about the investigation, about the whispers in the old house that told Richard Graves the truth. She listened without interrupting. When she finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Do you really believe it was a ghost?" she finally asked. "I don't know what I believe," I said honestly. "I just know that something helped us, something that knew things it shouldn't have known, something that cared enough to intervene. Maybe it was your subconscious," she suggested gently. "Maybe you were giving Emma information without realizing it. Maybe the stress of the investigation made you hallucinate those whispers in the house. Maybe. But I don't think so. I've thought about it a lot over the years, tried to explain it rationally, tried to convince myself there was a logical explanation. But I can't explain how Emma knew about the vase, about me moving it in the middle of the night, about Richard Graves before he even introduced himself, about specific details of the night Sarah died that nobody had told her. I can't explain the whispers that Graves recorded, that multiple audio experts couldn't debunk, that told a story only I knew. So I choose to believe in Mr. Whispers, in a ghost who made mistakes and sought redemption, who helped a frightened man and a grieving child find their way back to the truth. It makes the world feel a little less empty, a little less meaningless, the idea that even our mistakes might be opportunities for grace, that even the things we regret most deeply might someday be used for good. Emma came to me last week with a question. She's studying the supernatural in her English class, reading ghost stories, writing essays about the boundary between reality and imagination.
Dad, did I really have an imaginary friend when I was little, or did you make that up? I looked at my beautiful daughter, at her Sarah's eyes and my stubborn chin, at this person we'd made together, who'd survived tragedy and come out strong on the other side. I think you had an imaginary friend, I said. His name was Mr. Whispers. That's such a creepy name. Why would I call him that? I don't know, sweetie. You just did. Was he like other kids' imaginary friends, or was he different? I thought about how to answer that, about how much to tell her, about whether she was ready to hear about the role her imaginary friend played in clearing my name. He was different, I said carefully. He helped us through a really hard time. After Mom died? Yeah, after Mom died. She nodded thoughtfully. I wish I remembered him better. It feels weird to have this whole relationship with someone and not remember it clearly. You were little. It's okay not to remember. Do you think he was real, like actually real, not just in my imagination? I met her eyes, Sarah's eyes, looking at me with that same direct gaze Sarah used to have when she wanted the truth. I think he was as real as he needed to be. She seemed satisfied with that answer, went back to her homework, left me sitting there thinking about reality and imagination and the thin line between them. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, I went downstairs to get water. The house was dark and quiet. Angela's breathing upstairs, Emma's music playing softly through her closed door, the normal sounds of a family at rest. And then, so faint I almost missed it, I heard it. A whisper. Not words exactly, just a feeling, a presence, a sense that something was there in the dark with me, something familiar, something protective. Are you still here? I whispered to the empty kitchen. After all this time? No answer. Just that feeling of presence, of being watched over, of not being alone. Thank you, I said quietly, for everything, for saving us, for giving us a second chance. The feeling intensified for just a moment, like a pressure in the air, like a hand on my shoulder. Then it was gone. I went back to bed and held Angela close, listened to her breathe, felt grateful for the second chance at love, at family, at life. Some people might think I'm crazy, might say I'm clinging to a fantasy to explain things I don't understand, might argue there's a rational explanation for everything that happened. And maybe they're right. Maybe Mr. Whispers was just a product of Emma's trauma and my guilt. Maybe the whispers in the old house were auditory hallucinations brought on by stress. Maybe the blood on the mantel was always there, and Richard Graves would have found it eventually without any supernatural intervention. Maybe. But I choose to believe differently. I choose to believe that something helped us. That in our darkest moment, when we needed it most, something intervened. Something that knew about mistakes and regret and the long road to forgiveness. That's what makes me a better person, makes me more forgiving of myself and others, makes me believe that redemption is always possible, that our worst moments don't have to define us, that even ghosts can find peace if they're willing to help others find it first. Emma will grow up soon, graduate high school, go to college, build her own life. She'll probably never remember Mr. Whispers clearly. He'll just be a vague memory from childhood, a story her dad tells sometimes after a few drinks, a strange footnote in her personal history. But I will remember every detail, every impossible thing she knew, every whisper in the dark, every moment of that terrifying, transformative time when an imaginary friend saved our lives. And when Emma has her own children someday, when she's tucking them into bed and they tell her about their imaginary friends, I hope she'll remember something, even if it's buried deep, a feeling more than a memory. I hope she'll remember that imaginary friends sometimes know things they shouldn't, that the line between real and pretend is thinner than we think, that love and protection can come from unexpected places, that sometimes when we're needed most, the impossible becomes possible. The whispers have been quiet lately. I haven't heard them in months. Sometimes I wonder if I imagined them, if my mind is playing tricks, creating a comfortable narrative to explain the inexplicable. But then, I'll be doing something mundane, washing dishes, driving to work, watching Emma play volleyball, and I'll feel it, that presence, that certainty that something is watching over us, something that helped us once and hasn't quite let go. And I'll whisper into the air, knowing I probably look crazy, not caring. Thank you. We're okay now. We're going to be okay. And I swear sometimes the air whispers back.